World Day of the Boy speaks volumes to International Men's Day, because teach a child in the way he must grow and he won't forget it. So if we could nurture the boys, we would have less problems with the men. So even though as Men Day, International Men's Day, we celebrate the man and we deal with men issues, as we see in one of the flyers, the men cry too. But because men feel that they were brought up to be tough. A boy child fall, don't cry. But if the girl fall, oh, go come and you rub she down. You go, it's okay, and she could cry, you know. But the boy mustn't cry. Boy go by the dentist. Well, yeah, boy, you could take that. So boys get to believe that we had to be tough all the time. And that toughness that was bred into many boys made them aggressive in some ways, and then less able to express their true feelings. So they hold back because they don't want to come across as weak. But remember, there's a soft side and a hard side, and we have to embrace both sides as men. We are the chromosomes that have the both. Women only have one. So we had to be able to flow in both ways. And too often we find that it's so much an issue for a man to express a feeling. If I'm speaking here now about my dad and I get emotional and he's soft, boy. No, I'm not soft, I'm being real. Because we feel, and it's time men understand that it's okay to express that realness. So going along with the story, we had it that first year. The following year, we decided we're going to go a Rima. We did another walk, and we had a father-son dinner. That was really, really nice. Errol had all his children there, so that was great. Yeah, you know, my son was there. It was really, really awesome. Just getting the fathers to bring the son out, or the son to bring out the father. Because some fathers, very old, and imagine me bringing out my father, so you can imagine the difference as opposed to my father crying me out, I'm crying him out, and that kind of thing. Well, he's passed now, God rest his soul. But this is what we did. And my interaction with Dr. Tiloxin was through that, and it hasn't stopped. And now he is taking the whole Men's Day to this next level. He has taken it to this next level. And before I even go any further, I personally think we need to just put our hands together for Dr. Tiloxin. Really, really. Because when he saw what he saw on November 19th, he could have just said, hey boy, look how men can get emotional now. And that could be the end of that, you know. We wouldn't be here today doing this. But in his wisdom, he saw, I need to inject this more. I need to get deeper into this. And he has delved deeper, and we are here today. He delved so much deeper that after forming Men's Day, he now formed the World Day of the Boy, which makes so much sense. We had to start here. Yes, we're dealing with the men, yeah, but you can't teach an old dog new tricks, you know. You know, you could mold some of them will work with you, and you could get things happening. You get the awareness started. But you see them little ones, boy? You could nurture them, and you're going somewhere. And as he rightfully said, there's so much abuse with children, boys in particular. And we don't see it because we tend to not see it. We refuse to see it. Nah, boy, he talked that, and it's not so. We have to always recognize that what you inject as children learn the most from in the first formidable years of their life. Those 2 years, they learn everything. And what we put into them there is what we're seeing out here. So we had to put the right things in there. So I want to close by saying that we are celebrating International Men's Day again this year. We did it last year in San Fernando. And this year with the Ex-Military Servicemen Association, we are going to Tobago. And we have Dr. Tiloxin on board with us. And Jesus said he'll be coming along, and I want to invite everyone. We'll be having a Father and Son Day on the 18th, And on the 19th of November, we having the walk and a symposium, a health fair, and you all will be informed that the whole details of everything. It's in Tobago, but I want to invite everyone to come along. Tobago is on board. We want to make this thing Trinidad and Tobago, not just in Trinidad. And by next year, please God, we want to see that we have it happening in Tobago while it's happening in Trinidad. We get it to TTHA. So let's take that, run with it, because we need to do this for men. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a pleasant evening.
Thank you very much, my friend. I want to call on Jahim John, a young man, to bring greetings on his organization. And after that, I will be introducing the featured speaker, Dr. Brad.
Hello, good day everyone. My name is Jahim John. I'm 20 years old and I'm a living staff for Mobach Foundation. I'm not very prepared. I was just asked on short notice to come and make a little greetings. So what we do at the space, we provide a space for men coming out of children's homes to provide opportunities for them to find work and try to go out and live on their own. So right now we have around 11 young men from ages 18 to 24 that we have at the space. We try to provide opportunities such as jobs, schools. For myself, I'm currently trying to get into sorry, I'm a bit nervous. I'm not really so I'm trying to get into university right now to practice law. I'm also a national cricketer for Trinidad and Tobago under 20 team. And just recently I came at the Mobach Foundation. I had a little issues with my parents and stuff, and the CEO called me and asked if I would like a space there, and I said sure. And what I've been providing with the guys is experiences that I've lived and trying to help them to focus on the future, because some of the guys there, you know, they'll think like nobody's there for them. And the world we live in, they're very hardened men. And I think that the little changes count. Like for me, well, what I'm responsible for is just talking to them on a daily basis. And so forth and so forth. But I mean, I like the job that I do. I mean, I'm only 20 years old and I'm trying to make a difference. And well, yeah, that's what we do at Mobach Foundation. And I hope that everyone check us out at some point. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. And I want to introduce the featured speaker. Dr. David Bratt is well known as a pediatrician in Trinidad and Tobago and across the world. He's a columnist in the Guardian newspaper, and he has served this country well. And I've invited him here because of his research, because of his experience in the field, in this field of babies and young boys. And I'm sure that he's a national award winner, and I'm sure we'll have a very enlightening discussion this afternoon. Dr. Bratt?
Thank you, Jerome, Dr. Tilak Singh. It's an honor, really, to be here with you today. You all are the people doing most of the work with young men. The work that I do really is with young children. So most of my talk is going to be about young children who grew up to be young men with problems. There's a myth going around for a long time, beloved by many, that the man is the stronger of the two sexes. That is false in many ways. Females are the superior sex, both in the physical and in the psychological, both things. So I want to look at some statistics from Trinidad and elsewhere. And the first thing we're going to look at is births. So in general, a birth can only end in two types of sex in general, male or female. So statistically, if you have 100 births, you should have 50 boys, 50 girls born. That's what you would expect most of the time. In truth, that doesn't happen at all. There are always more boys born than girls. There are always more boys born than girls. It's more like for every 100 girls, you have 101 boys. Now this could be due to chance, right? It could be just happening. But it always happens. It happens all the time. It happens everywhere. It happens historically. It happens in primitive small groups of people living in the middle of the Amazons. It happens in large populations. The American population, the Italian population, since we enter Italy these days. Here are some figures from Trinidad and Tobago. Between 2012 and 2018, about 125,000 children were born, babies. About 64,000 were boys, 61,000 were girls. There were almost 3,000 more boys born than girls. This means for every 100 girls born, for every 1,000 girls born, it's easy to think of 1,000 and 100, 1,080 boys are born. So why? Why does this happen? Well, we don't know. We really don't know. What we do know is that male babies die more than female babies. Male babies die more than female babies. Some first sign of superiority. In Trinidad and Tobago, for example, figures from 2018, which is the last time that our Ministry of Health has deigned to give us figures on their computers. For every 1,000 female babies who were born dead, something called a stillbirth, 1,250 boys are born dead. And that's for 2018. The figure is more or less the same every year. If you look at newborn deaths, newborn is a baby up to the age of 28 days. In 2018, 103 newborn babies died, which is pretty good, by the way, international figures. 60 were male, 43 were female. If you look at infants, an infant is a child from birth up to the age of 1 year. In 2018, 218 infants died. 94 were male, 78 were female. And this keeps repeating year after year after year. More male children die than females. And if you look at the other end of the life cycle, life expectancy, I am sure that most people know, the life expectancy of the average Trinidadian male is 71 years. Of the female is 78 years. They live 7 years more. Women in Trinidad live 7 years more than male. It's not only about deaths also, it's also about illness. It's a similar ratio. Males get sicker than females at all ages. So males definitely, biologically, are inferior to females. Now what about the psychological? It is a little more complicated because traditionally women are 3 times more likely to have a mental health problem than males. But mental health problems are rising faster in men than in females. So things like difficulty sleeping, alcohol, substance abuse, post-traumatic stress disorder are all increasing more rapidly in men than in women. So in Trinidad and Tobago, let's look at suicides. Simple thing. We were just talking about suicides. In Trinidad and Tobago in 2022, there were 142 suicides. 123 were in males. That's 87%. In 2023, the number of suicides dropped to 104, but 81 were in men, 78%. So in general, the figures show that out of every 5 people in the country who commit suicide, 4 are now men. This changed from 20 or 30 years ago. So it's against this background then that you have this boy child entering our world, biologically inferior and psychologically at increasing risk. and he enters this increasingly scary world. I want to step aside on it and describe the life of some of the boys in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm doing this because I have this from a publication from Mrs. Elizabeth Spence and her late husband, Bert, she's supposed to be in the audience, but she isn't. Elizabeth and Bert worked for Families in Action for over 25 years as parenting counselors, and they are the ones who introduced many of the parenting classes in schools. Bert was also worked at Serval for over 15 years as a counselor, and Mrs. Spence recently retired as CEO of Families in Action. And they described the boy child in Trinidad and Tobago, who was a male child aged 0 to 14 years, who is seen as a continuation of the family's name, pressure from birth right away. The boy child of yesteryear, he loved at birth, breastfed in the old days, bonding was created, and did pretty well for the first couple of years. But from about 8 or 9 years old, he starts being treated in the old days and now with indifference in the home. Maybe because more siblings came along, maybe because of domestic problems, but basically because, as we know, no father figure and no role model. So he starts doing the chores, and I like the way she describes this, as a little man. He's a little man, he helping out. It's really child labor, but he helping out. He dropped out of school around this time. He's the breadwinner, or he's learning a trade. But he's suffering in silence. He's not allowed to speak about it, as you said, sir. He's not allowed to show weakness. He's not allowed to cry. Boy children mature slower than girl children. They need nurturing for a longer period. And in some cases, some of these boys end up being called a mama's boy, which remains with them into manhood, because the boy child doesn't know who he is. And by this time, he has little or no self-esteem. He needed his father badly. A big part of his life is lost. It's going to take a miracle to help him to recover, to become a good daddy. And many of these boys, as Mr. Warren said, are the adults of today and don't recognize that they have a problem. The boy child of today is loved when he was born, probably not breastfed, unfortunately, but well taken care of until about age 9, when the problems start again. Adolescence starts to kick in a couple of years later, and he's now being treated as, who is this boy? Where did my darling son go? Because he's now showing a tendency to disobey and so on. I don't know this person anymore, the mother says. He's treated with indifference to a point where he's almost invisible. He wants to please his parents, but he doesn't know how, because nobody teaches him. He yearns and needs the warmth and affection from his father. The father is not around. If another figure, another respected or trusted male figure is not around, who loves him openly and gives him permission to grow into an emotionally secure man, then you have boys who are not confident and who have little self-esteem. So how does this play out? So we now come to the problem of this emotionally insecure child who has been brought up with little love and lots of fear. Now, in order for the brain to grow and develop, it needs, first of all, not to be afraid. And I don't know how many people realize that. In order for the brain to grow and develop, it can't be afraid. The brain can't be afraid. The child cannot be afraid. Human children should not grow up in fear. What does it mean to be a boy child growing up in fear? To be told constantly, be a man, take man blows. The boy child's confidence takes a hit. His self-esteem lowered. Children are meant to grow up in love. They are meant to experience soothing birth and perinatal experiences. To be born into an environment which is loving and caring. And I have to say, we are heading in this direction in the country, in the public hospitals, in the last 10 years. Extensive maternal support is needed, breastfeeding on request for several years. responsive care to keep the baby comforted and calm, supportive, stable caregivers, extensive affectionate touch and no negative touch, self-directed social play in which the child plays on its own, not with an adult telling it what to do. Real play is when the child plays on its own outside in the park, in the street. A welcoming community and routine healing practices. All this stimulates the brain to develop normally. And if we don't get this sensory stimulation due to love, bonding, and intimacy in the first 3 years of life, somebody mentioned it, the first 3 years of life are key. The first 1,000 days in the life of a human being, which is the 9 months of birth plus the 2 years after the child is born. We're going to be impaired, if not crippled, in our ability to experience and express this language of love in our life. I want to remind you all that at least 200 billion brain cells are formed in the first months of fetal life. At birth, a human baby has this incredible sum that I can't imagine of 100 billion brain cells. Compare that with a monkey. A monkey has 10 billion. Human being has 100 billion at birth. And these brain cells are connected up to every part of the body and to each other. And these connections are responsible for everything the baby does and feels. At birth, there are about 50 trillion connections. And I just want to point out that I read somewhere that the US annual budget is something like $33 trillion or something like that. At birth, a human being has 50 trillion connections. That is 50 followed by 18 zeros. I can't imagine it. But as soon as the baby is born, these brain cells, under the influence of any stimuli, sight, touch, smell, song, taste, they go ballistic and they accelerate the rate at which they establish connections at the rate of 3 billion a second. So think of this baby come out of the mother's womb, and within seconds it's establishing more connections based on its experience around it. The newborn baby seems to be helpless and indifferent and don't know what's going on, but the brain of that baby is absorbing knowledge. By 1 year, and it continues after birth, by 1 year, the brain of a 1-year-old child has 1,000 trillion connections. I can't even imagine that. And these connections are responsible for our life, our lifestyle, our emotions, and our deepest feelings. Hence the importance of the first 1,000 days of life. Those cells continue to be affected by our life, our upbringing. A loving environment increases the connections. A fearful environment destroys the connections, which we need to be loving and respectful and rational and so on. Mrs. Spence, thank you for coming. It actually alters the architecture of the brain, and you can do MRIs nowadays. In the last 15 years we're doing them, and you can see the difference between a brain that has been brought up surrounded by love and a brain that has been brought up surrounded by blows. So, put in other words, when children are not touched, held, or surrounded with affection, the brain system required to experience pleasure and confidence and develop self-esteem is not developed. If it doesn't happen, the child lives and develops in fear. It leads to an individual and a culture that is self-centered and violent. Boy children brought up without maternal love and male protection are especially susceptible to this. Now, not all violence in children results in unhappy adults. Only a few children born in conditions of poverty and violence really end up as criminals. The brain is very resilient. It seems to have an inborn tendency to develop along a certain stable course. And some children are genetically less susceptible to stress, so they develop regardless what you do. Other children have their bad early experiences neutralized by a caring teacher or adult, which is what this organization is about. The key actor in all of this, however, is the mother. The whole issue of rejected children is bound up with the problem of domestic abuse and an almost equal partner in this tragedy is the father, or rather the absence of the father. Until women are able to control their body, and not just reproduction, but the whole spectrum of their sexuality, it will be very difficult to achieve the first step, which is the bonded child. If the mother, for whatever reason, is unable to give her babies or young children love and security, then the child will feel abandoned. And if not helped by someone, eventually abandoned children are scared children, and they grow up to be scared, violent children and adults. Just want to point out that various local practitioners who care for children, especially adolescents, have made similar points. So in the past, Dr. Dorrell Phillips, who's a child psychologist, has repeatedly talked about the tremendous sense of anger that teenagers who are cared for in public institutions feel. These are the places where, for whatever reason, children who are not wanted by their parents are kept. This is the continuance of the first violence that the child experiences, which is the violence it experiences when it realizes it is not wanted. The violence we are seeing around us is mainly due to the violence which children experience growing up. This is why I was glad to hear you talking, sir, about the need to start early to try to prevent some of this. The work that your organization is doing, Dr. Tilak Singh, fantastic. But we can't forget there's more coming up. To be unloved by your mother or father or both, and not to find someone love you, is violence with robbery. The robbery occurring is the theft of love and the inability to live a simple, loving life. Father Jerry Panting was another one who used to maintain that we are reproducing in our society a class of warrior, a male warrior class. That is, children reared apart from their mother. Male status determined by combat and sexual conquest. I was just talking to a child guidance officer from South today, and she's talking precisely about that, sexual conquest and fighting in the classroom. Economic gain, third point, separated from what is needed to support one's family. Father Panting thought the first ingredient, the seeds of crime and violence, starts when the young child, aged 1 to 2 years, begins to be repeatedly beaten and rejected by the mother. And this atmosphere of violence continues as the child moves out into the wider society with the loss of community spirit and the absence of role models to take the place of the lost parent. The evidence then, I think, is there. The genesis of that lack of self-esteem and of violence is planted early in young minds. Years ago, Dr. Ashley Montagu, the famous developmental anthropologist, wrote, and I love this and I quote it all the time, the basic plan of the mother-infant relationship from conception to birth and onward is that the loving behavior of the mother and child for one another confers survival and growth benefits upon each other. In this beautiful mother and child interconnectedness and interaction, the basic pattern is laid out for humanity to follow towards the achievement of healthy growth and development. That is, to live as if to live and love were one. We could do with some of that in the country today. Ladies and gentlemen, as a young gentleman over there said, it's not easy being a man in Trinidad and Tobago today. That's why we all have to stand up and help our boy children. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bratt, for that very enlightening discussion. Before we move into the panel, I want to give out some certificates and medals to a few people. And I'll be asking Mr. Richie Bandraj, one of the ambassadors, to assist me on stage in giving these out. And I want to call up following people, Mr. Ray Braffett, to come and receive an award. Mr. Blackman is here already, and Marlon Bascom. First group we will deal with. graph it. And I will give Norris his medal now. And I want to call up, well, Richie's here. I want to give Richie his certificate and pin. I want to give Reverend Canon Jacob a certificate for helping us observe this day. I want to also give a certificate and a medal to Clunis Wallen, and I will allow Justice Gafu to come up now to assist me in this second session. I want to call up Donald Berment, my good friend. I want to give him an award posthumously. His son is here, and I want to welcome the family too, and tell them, how much Donald has been part of the movement with me and Dr. Moultrie almost 20 years, and Donald has been very faithful, to all events that I'm having. And so now I can't make an event, and he would come up here. So I want to invite his son here.
Dr. Robert Moultrie. To the stage.
And I want to call up my good friend Errol Fabian. Errol Fabian, as you would have heard, have been doing some really good work for the Sun March and other awards, and he has always been supportive of me for International Men's Day. And I want to present him with this medal for all the great work he has been doing. Hi. You have it now? Good. Last November, for International Men's Day at the Government Campus Plaza right here in Port of Spain, we had a Caribbean gathering from all the activists and NGOs from the various Caribbean countries, and we gave out awards. And one of the persons who received an award was my good friend Donald Berment. He received it posthumously, and I want to invite his daughter to come up and accept this award on his behalf. We just had his son, and Berment was a real activist. Some of you all would have known him on the ground, right? And very humble and faithful to the movement. We have one of the panelists here, and I want to give her award one time, and that is Rebecca. So Rebecca, that award a certificate for being here, and I also have a certificate for Dr. Bratt for taking part today and, you know, helping make this day successful. So if these two persons could come up, and I will let Norris Blackman give Dr. Bratt his certificate. Right, we will have one or two more presentations after the panel. I want to invite the panelists to come up here, and I also want to invite the moderator. You will see on your program, sounds like Jesus Villafana, is really Jesus Villafana. So I want to invite Mr. Villafana and his exciting panel, and I want to introduce Mr. Villafana. He is a very intelligent student at the UE campus, and I'm so glad that he agreed to come here. He actually had an exam before. He had an exam before, and he came right after the exam to ensure that this panel is properly moderated. So, thank you, Mr. Villafana.
Good afternoon, all. As Sir introduced, my name is Mr. Villafana, and I have the honor of being your moderator this afternoon for a truly meaningful observation, World Day of the Boy Child, under this powerful theme, Building Self-Esteem in Boys. Stand up, be seen, be heard. Today we are not only to celebrate, but also to acknowledge the unique challenges boys face in developing healthy self-esteem. We're here to learn, reflect, and build community around supporting our young men to find their voice and use it wisely and confidently. We're fortunate to have with us a distinguished panel of thought leaders and advocates whose collective work spans law, gender equality, youth development, business, spirituality, and social transformation. I'd like to introduce Mrs. Rebecca Aligovea. She's an attorney at law, certified mediator, and optimal youth health advocate. She's an instructor in Healthy Respect Teen Program and led a family-centered NGO for over a decade, offering critical support to vulnerable mothers and children. Her work centers on family life, parental empowerment, and positive youth development. She is also co-organizing a conference on boys and men in Barbados this September 2025. Hopefully our wonderful Dr. Tilak Singh will be in attendance. Next, Mr. Nigel Phillip is a gender specialist. Alright, apologies. Next, Mr. Marlon Bascombe, a member of Kariman and a pastor who has worked with Citizen Security Program, Children's Authority, and USAID projects. He specializes in conflict resolution and fatherhood training. Next, Mr. Richie Bansaraj is a sociologist and Caribbean ambassador for the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Men and Boys, with over a decade of public service and NGO service. He champions inclusive approaches to youth development and gender equality, especially for boys who are often invisible in policy conversations. And finally, but not least, Mr. Norris Blackman is a chartered accountant, auditor, and management consultant with over 20 years of experience servicing small businesses across Trinidad and Tobago. But beyond the boardroom, Mr. Blackman is an ambassador for both International's Men Day, World Day, and Boy Child Day. For more than 5 years, he championed the role of positive male identity and youth advocacy in churches and civil society. His commitment to empowering boys is rooted in real-world mentorship and long-term impact. Thank you, sir. To open, I'd like to ask all of you, in your work with youths, families, and communities, how do you define self-esteem in boys? And why do you think it's urgent that we address it?
I think that the boy child is an important element in our society. And if a okay. In a family life, both male and female, they expect the first child to be a boy child. And if you look at every society, and if you take England or Denmark or Sweden, the king or queen, they look for a boy child first. So the boy child have the opportunity, when he reach the age, to be added to the king of the country. And so therefore, the boy child plays a very important part in terms of the king and queen of any country. In Trinidad and Tobago and in the Caribbean, it also once looked for the first person, first child, to be a boy child. But if we continue to look at what's happening to the boy child generally, we find that all the negative reports in the papers of the boy child. If a murder is committed, it is on the front page of every newspaper, every print media. And if you look at the weekend papers, some newspapers have week. If you purchase a newspaper, every Sunday, you have a lot of information of women entrepreneurs, business executives, psychiatrists, economists. But where is the boy child? Where is the boy child? It is not there. If you look at the back pages within the papers in week, you have problems with where a man and a woman have problems. And it's identified every week, from January to December. And my question is that why it is that we don't have the men have a newspaper talk about men, the ability. Let us look again. In International Men's Day, which is my biggest critique about the media, every media and Women's Day have all the successes of women in any industry, private or public. When it comes to International Men's Day, nothing about men. And if you look at most boardrooms in Trinidad and Tobago, 80% and 90% is men dominated. Yet, both private and public companies does not support men who have done well within their companies, both private and public, in terms as far as that is concerned. And in my view, we need to address that problem. And how we need to address that problem? Basic family life. What is family life? Is there family life in Trinidad and Tobago today? Let me give you an example. When I was growing up in a child, in the same church, All Saints Church, we will belong to different organizations within the church. Sunday school, men's societies, servers, and there was a correlation between the church, the school, and the parent. So if you misbehave, what will happen? Okay. If you misbehave, your connection to the school and the church would come to the forefront and it will be dealt with. Do we have these today? I'm not sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Norris. Final introduction, Mr. Nigel Phillip. Thank you for joining us. Is a gender specialist with Tobago's House of Assembly and has spent over 13 years shaping policies on gender, youth, and wellness. He's also president of the Society of St. Vincent de Paul in Trinidad and Tobago, managing programs for the elderly, street dwellers, and migrant families. His deep experience connects grassroots care with national advocacy. To the panelists, when you have like 2 minutes to answer my questions, please keep it there. Thank you. I know you have a presentation that you would like. Would you please? You have 5 minutes. I give you 5. I'm being generous.
All right. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Richie Bansraj. I am the Caribbean ambassador for the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Men and Boys. I'm also a global ambassador for World Day of the Boy Child. So I just wanted to touch some key points today just to paint a perspective as to what World Day of the Boy Child is supposed to be about and what it is supposed to highlight in the globe. Because it's not just a Trinidad and Tobago thing, but we putting our foot forward and we kickstarting this thing even further, right? So why World Day of the Boy Child is important? Anybody can tell me why? Well, they know why is why. Because boys are important too. People tend to realize and people tend to focus more on girls and the issues that girls face, the issues that women face, but boys and men have issues as well. So I have here, boys are human too. From an early age, many boys are taught to hide their feelings rather than express any form of emotion, any form of weakness as they classify it. Showing emotion for a man is weakness. So this cultural expectation can lead to long-term emotional harm and linked to things like depression, suicide, anxiety, and loneliness. So I have some key statistics on boys' mental health as well. So I believe Dr. Bratt was talking about some statistics too. In 2023, 12.3% of adolescent males, 12 to 70%, were diagnosed with anxiety, 6% with depression. Now this is US statistics, because gathering the statistics when it comes to Trinidad and Tobago tends to be a bit more difficult. So I had to dig to get these statistics. One, I had to try to get statistics about men and boys. And then men and boys in Trinidad and Tobago's context was even more difficult. Behavioral disorders, 10% of males 3 to 17 diagnosed with behavioral disorders compared to 5% of females, so 10% versus 5%. The suicide rates among boys and young men in the USA during the COVID period, 79.2% of the suicides were male. In Trinidad and Tobago, during the COVID period as well, but in 2021, 77 were males aged 9 to 60. Now the percentage is 89% of all suicides. 89%. Now this is one I always talk about because it spans 10 years. This one is from 2011 to 2021. 82% of the suicides were men and boys. Not just men, boys. So the underdiagnosis and treatment gaps, reluctance to seek help, because it links to the masculine thing that men and boys are supposed to show emotions and seek help. So why men and boys don't seek help or look for help? Stigma, the pressure to be a tough, a big man. Low mental health literacy as well. Emotional intelligence is a thing that we hear tossing around a lot. And the masculine norms that make boys feel less likely to seek support. How much minutes I have again? Feel like I'm talking? 2 more minutes. All right, good. So, all right, let me skip straight to the 9 core principles of World Day of the Boy Child, right? So the 9 core principles are number 1, educating, empowering, and mentoring. Mentoring is important because some boys do not grow up with a parent figure that is a male. So how do they get someone to look up to with regards to a male? They get mentors, right? And sometimes they can be good persons within the communities or bad persons within the communities, because those community leaders are the ones who tend to prey on these younger guys because they have high energy, they have all the time, they have energy resources. Honoring boys, this is number 2, honoring boys who are talented and achievers. So we don't want to always look at the negatives of boys, but also the positives, because boys are achievers as well. Number 3, rescuing boys from poverty and war, because men and boys tend to be soldiers and forced into that. Eradicating illiteracy and underachievement, that's number 4. Number 5, addressing discrimination against boys. Number 6, promoting positive minds and healthy boys. Number 7, offering freedom and safety. Number 8, championing equality and equity. And number 9, maintaining good values and morals. So how much time I have left? No time I have left, right? But at least I get those 9 core principles of World Day of the Boy Child. I could stand up here and talk longer about it and the importance of it, but that's what we have this panel for. And it's a panel discussion because we want you all to contribute after, not just us sitting here and talking our perspectives on things. You all have perspectives. You all are legends in your own space. You all are not here today by choice. You all are choosing to come here. Right? So let's continue with the panel discussion. Yeah?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. There's a lot of mentioning about early influences, parents, community, home, extended family. So with that in mind, I believe a great question is, what role do parents, especially fathers, play in nurturing emotional confidence in children, in boys? To anyone on the panel.
Good afternoon, everyone. Marlon Bascom. And I speak also as the father of 2 young sons, 9 and age 14. And I would say as the father to my boys that that role is critical. That role is probably the most important, particularly when it comes to raising young men, right? But supplementary to that role is the support of the rest of the family, the wider community, and the society. And to build on a lot of what was said from Dr. Brad, come straight down to Richie's contribution, one of the what we are seeing are the results of our lack as a society, as our lack of an ability to support the structure in the home, and then for those who need support, to support the wider community, to support the child protection system, to support the education system. Having worked in child protection, I spent 6 years at the Children's Authority, having worked with various NGOs, supporting right now at the Mobac Foundation, which is a transition home for young men. I have developed over the years an opinion, and that opinion is that after the age of 10, this society does not care about boys. Something happens at age 10. You see, from 0 to 10, there's still a level of nurturing, there's still a level of care. Should there be abuse, there are spaces that the boys can be placed in fairly easily, understanding that in general there is a lack of space. But at age 10, somehow the young man is a threat. Somehow the young man, maybe his size, maybe his face, whatever it is, it suddenly becomes that much harder at age 11 to find somewhere safe for the boy who does not have the best family life, for the boy who may have been the victim of abuse, for the boy who, because of his victimhood, may already be or may be on the way to becoming a perpetrator. And the support for them is not there, but also the support for fathers is still limited in Trinidad and Tobago, despite the activities of several groups, most vocal of which is, of course, the Single Fathers Association, the Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago, right? And I can speak to personal experience with it. As a father, I live in the traditional home, right? My wife and I this year would be 17 years married, nuclear family, home, right? Right. So tell me then, why, if one of my sons are sick and I want to discharge them from the hospital, I need to find my wife? Or if it is she's unable to come, I need to find their grandmother, right? The support isn't there. And as was said earlier, when it comes to Father's Day, when it comes to International Men's Day, the positive stories are less than they should be, and the negative stories are increased. And so you beat us on Father's Day too, when we should be celebrated. And all of these things mean that as we observe this day in World Day of the Boy Child, that we are doing a disservice to our boys, and we continue to do it. And it contributes to 70 to 80% plus male suicide and all the other issues, right? My sons understand that they are lucky to do SEA. My older son had anxiety. I was able to get him the support when I could not get him the support. But for the boy whose father is not in the home, who's getting him support? For the boys who have no parents, how many safe spaces are there for them? And how do we get them to understand that just because you turn 11 years old, you are not a threat. So, I think I'm rambling enough.
Thank you, Mr. Bascombe. You said a lot, and there's a lot to think of, and you are right. Structurally, institutionally, there is lacking for boys. But one thing that stood out to me is stereotypes, right? So, to Ms. Ali Govera, how do gender stereotypes hinder or shape boys' sense of self-worth in Caribbean households?
That is such a loaded question. So let me see if I could pick apart a few things. There was a question you asked earlier about self-esteem and boys. Now, I stand to be corrected, but based on the research that I have read, there isn't a large variance between self-esteem in boys and girls. Boys and girls are generally facing this very similar challenges, but what is happening is that girls are getting more support from various spaces, from home, church, community, schools, etc., as opposed to boys. And so that's one of the things that's deepening the crisis, right? Dr. Will Farrell wrote a book called Boy Crisis, and I encourage us to read it, those of you who have not read it. And he even has a couple TED Talks and so on where he talks about the feminization of systems and how it is impacting the boy child. We are feminizing the church, we are feminizing education, we are feminizing all our social systems, and if we do, we are feminizing violence. Violence is a two-sided issue. Both males and females are victims, and as a matter of fact, if you delve into the research honestly, you would find that there are instances where our boys present a larger percentage of the victims than the girls. But we are not lifting the veil on this enough. We are not lifting the veil on this enough. I also have noticed in my work that boys, my friend here said from about 10, 11, boys are almost being treated as, okay, you're a big man now, right? And so you have to take up a big man responsibility in society. And that is something that is devastating our boys. Because our boys are facing, again, very similar issues. They're facing self-esteem issues, they're facing identity issues, they are facing bullying issues, they have anxieties, they have mental health issues. As a matter of fact, the data is showing that while girls have always had mental health issues and it's sort of steady, boys are increasing. Almost 6 times higher than girls, the suicide rate is climbing. ADHD is on the rise among boys in particular. So to answer your question, yes, I think there is a societal feminization that's happening that is skewing the way we look at boys, the way we intervene with boys, and we do need to take stock of this and ensure that we don't fall into some of the pits that some of our Western nations have fallen into. Some of our Western nations have gone so far that some people think there's no coming back. Australia, UK, the US, Canada, all right? Hopefully in the Caribbean, we will look to some of these countries and see what's happening and do more of this work. I commend Dr. Tilak Singh, all of you here, everybody on the panel. We do need to do more. Even in my work, non-profit work, running a crisis center for families, I saw the disparity between the way boys in crisis homes were treated compared to the girls, right? I see it just about everywhere, in schools, in churches, in communities, and the homes. And so I hope that this discussion will open up some avenues to intervene and resolve some of this.
Thank you, Mrs. Ali Govera. Thank you. As we keep touching on institutions and the lack thereof of the support there, I'd like to direct this question to Mr. Nigel. How can schools, state programs better address boys' emotional and mental health needs? Me? Okay, my bad. So my question to Mr. Nigel is, how can school and state programs better address boys' emotional and mental health needs?
You want me to stand? Is that okay? All right, so before I answer that question, I just want to give a little story. And I always tend to give story that I could relate to. For me, I remember when I was a child growing up, I had both mother and father, and I had sisters and brothers as well. But even though I had a father in the home, he was never in the home. You know, there are some cases like that. The father is there, but the mother plays the both role at all times. And one of the things for me is that I have never heard the word from my dad saying, son, I love you. And that can also relate to go back to most questions that are being asked here today, because that aspect of love, that aspect of touch, that aspect of wanting to be heard, or to be, just to say, Dad, I am going through this. And when I heard those words from my father, was on his dying bed. It was on his dying bed. And to me, that was one of the most painful things for me in my life as a male. So in answering your question, there are a lot of young men or boys in school that we think that they are normal, but they're not normal. They act in a way that we say that is dysfunctional, but behind that dysfunctionality is a cry for help. If you go to the prisons and you listen to some of the discussions or the interactions that you have with the male in the prisons, they will tell you they never had the aspect of a father's love. So what they do, they go out into society and they attract other people like themselves, and that's how they become rebellious at times, because they feel nobody cares, nobody loves me, so what the hell, I could do whatever the hell I want. And to add to that, they turn to substance abuse, they turn to crime, they turn to many different things that can get them in trouble. Yesterday, in my profession, I work as a gender specialist in the Tobago House of Assembly. And one of my jobs entails is that when, I don't think Trinidad has that facility, but when children get suspended from the school system, secondary school system in Tobago, they send them to a particular center called LEC, Learning Enrichment Center. And so they don't let them go home. They go up there to spend the time, as a week or whatever it is. And you will hear the different stories. Sir, my daddy not wrong. You know, is mommy are wrong. But mommy don't care if I go down the road and lie with the boys and those different things. So what it is saying to us, our young men needs attention. Our young men needs the right attention. And when they go to school, in school what they see, many women teachers. And they may have their few male teachers. And sometimes the same women teachers will embarrass them, will belittle them. So what does that say? It adds even more hurt to injury. And we as men, as I end, we as men, we need to take a look at ourselves. Because we could sit down here and talk until thy kingdom come. But we had to ask ourselves, what are we doing in our own personal space? What are we doing to our nephews, or how can we interact with even our own family members? But sometimes us as men are selfish too, you know. We say that is not my problem. But still, same men who sometimes, and no offense here, same men crying out, they're the ones who are going out and sowing different seeds in different gardens. And that adds to the problem. So what we need to do, we need to recheck and think first, fix ourselves first. and see how we could help others while we're fixing ourselves or when we're done fixing ourselves. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Mr. Phillip. Thank you, thank you. So all panelists, in the age of social media, what's the role of media, social media, digital, popular, how we play in shaping how boys view themselves? Are we giving them the right messages?
Right, so good question, because media and social media is very important right now. But I'll sit, right? I'll sit. So media and the use of social media tends to show what a man should be like in society. But we must understand that social media, is it real? No. People portray falsehoods just to make themselves look good. All the time posting stories that they're out here, they're there, but in reality they'll never post the dark times that they have. There are few men now, but people don't want to see that when they post up that they're going through depression and stuff like that, and they talk about these things, but they what? In the comment section, they are laughed at. You see laughing emojis whenever a man tries to express some form of emotion. So when it comes to young men and boys, they look at this a lot in social media. So it tends to leave an impression that they should follow suit. But in reality now, we need to be the mentors in the space. People here, the women and the men, need to be the mentors to tell them that how the truth is not in social media. The truth is what you experience as a person, and tell them about all the good, the bad, and the in-between that you go through as a person in life. So that's why I say mentors are the most important things. Men and women. A woman could also be a mentor to a boy. So focus on the reality that you have to just have proper mentors in his space. So they show the reality rather than the social media.
Thank you, Mr. Basaraj.
So if I may just add to that a little bit quickly. What we're seeing is social media impacting our boys in two ways, not just in the distortion of masculinity. So that distortion of masculinity is leading our boys to assume roles, assume images, pursue behavior that is not in their best interest. You could just look at the use of pornography, for instance, right? At one point, Trinidad and Tobago ranked highest per capita in the number of hits to porn sites in the Western Hemisphere. Okay? For a couple years running, yes. So there is that distorting of masculinity, which then leads to distorting of the male-female relationship and so on, right? But also, what we find happening is that boys are being sextorted online. So boys are being, in other words, it's not just our girls that are being preyed upon to send nude images and to engage with predators online. Our boys are being lured into predatory scenarios. And this is something I feel very increasingly strong about, and I believe that in our country, we need to begin to look at this from a public health. We need to take a public health perspective to some of what we're seeing. This is not just a family level, community level issue anymore. Some of these things need to be lifted to the level of public health concerns. For example, pornography use, access to websites, age verification laws, right? We need to now begin to elevate. If we really want to safeguard our boys, we need to begin to lobby for some protection at a national, legislative, and policy level, because it's very difficult for a parent, especially a single parent, to manage, monitor, and control all of the things that are coming into our boys' lives.
Thank you, Mrs. Alagovira. Answer this. Right here, right now, what's one immediate step parents, schools, churches can take to improve boys' confidence and well-being? From all of you.
Relationship. The relationship between the parent and the child, the relationship the parent-child that they have as a family, with the school and with other support systems, be it a religious institution and otherwise. That relationship is or has to be as strong as possible, including treating with, in this social media age and internet age, all of those dangers out there. As a parent, I can tell you it is absolutely impossible to monitor everything that happens on social media, right? These things, it's just impossible. I'd give an example. For my younger son, he's 9 now. Parental controls, monitoring everything, and then somebody still sends an instant message through a video game asking him where he lives and how to get there, right? And the game Roblox, pure children's game, right? You're watching YouTube, it looks like they're watching Mario Kart, Mario Brothers, nice, normal thing. I hear and cussing through the racing, right? So you just can't combat that. And how my wife and I do it is because we have such a relationship with them that they come and they tell us, right, when they see something that they should not see. Or sometimes you try to observe from afar, although they can't do it 24/7, and you watch them turn it away, right? Because it's impossible. And between that and everything else, the strength of the relationships that we have with our young men is what is going to assist them in building that resilience to treat with the world and not retreat into that man box we all do. Because as men, we learn nobody cares about us. I can't cry. I'm a big guy, so I must be big and strong and loud all the time, right? That's something we learn, and so we retreat, right? Not my sons, and I hope not the next generation.
Thank you. And nobody else?
Nobody else wants to?
All right, so I'll take all of their time. So when my bio was read, you would have heard that one of the things I do is advocate for optimal health for our children and young people. So I'd first of all like to offer everybody here, find my number, call me. I would like to drop you into a training free on optimal health and how to pursue that for our boys and girls as well. But since this forum is focused on boys. What optimal health means is that we give the tools to build the whole of the child, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, even financial, right? And socially. The way we do this is with a risk avoidance approach. There are two ways from a public health perspective to deal with some of the issues that we are dealing with. We either take a risk reduction approach or we take a risk avoidance approach. And, I can walk you through what this means if you are interested, but I really believe, and this has come out of my work with boys as well, we need to teach our youths, our kids from 9 to 19, the importance of avoiding high-risk behavior. And high-risk behavior in young people tend to cluster together. So it's never just one high-risk behavior, it's usually a cluster. So alcohol use and abuse, substance addiction, not addiction, but drugs use and abuse, the unhealthy use of media, violence, peer pressure, and sexual activity before they are ready. So if we can begin to, and again, I have seen the fruits of this, so this would be one of my top solutions, especially since the family structure has been degrading over the decades. So we have to get in, I believe, and shore up the foundations of our communities. And one of the ways we can do this is to teach risk avoidance to our children and to build an optimal health perspective on the part of the trusted adults. There's an organization called the Search Institute that did some research into one of their research was like 2 million adolescents. And they found that 40 developmental assets exist to keep children on a healthy path of positive youth development. If a child just has 31 of those developmental assets, they're considered to be thriving. And they kind of abandon their time, but I just want to show you. All right, I know you can't read it, but just look at the colors here and just take it from me that the less assets a child have, so this is like 0 to 10, the less assets our boys have, the more high risk the behavior, okay? And these 40 assets are divided into 2 categories, internal assets and external assets. There are 20 internal assets and 20 external assets. And I would love to teach you about this and teach you about ways that you can build this into the boys that you are working with, because I believe this can make a huge difference.
Thank you.
My number 383 2674. 3832674, no cost attached.
Oh, so my thing was just to give boys a voice and listen to them, create opportunities where boys can speak at conferences, panels, and media platforms, any way that they can. So that is it. Just give boys a voice and also listen to them.
Thank you on behalf of Dr. Dilak Singh for coming out, for being panelists. It's appreciated. To the audience, questions, anything to say? Now would be the time.
And how that affects our boys.
I would have thought that that is so apparent that I didn't have to mention it. Because I did emphasize the importance of the mother-child relationship to start things going. The mother is not there, things have become even worse. Are you asking how common is it? It's much less, I don't have statistics. It's a good question, but of course it's much less common than the absent father. And I think that goes for any society.
All right, Dr. Moultrie.
Thank you everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Excellent presentations. Boy, this is my baby. This is my topic. This is what I do. I must say that I wrote a book, and there were several students at UWI that did some papers, and they had done some research, and they actually concluded that in some neighborhoods, single-parent fathers far outweighed single-parent mothers. Okay? I have to say that things are changing in society, and have been changing in society. But sometimes we speak from yesterday's information, but things have changed, with all due respect. I have this to say. My name is Dr. Robert Moultrie. I've been here in wonderful Trinidad for 29 years. Is it 29 years? I think 29 years. And I have been observing, watching, pushing, sharing, observing, watching, pushing, sharing, and I have a conclusion. The conclusion was already mentioned, but I will say this. Our thoughts, feelings, and perceptions of our mother and father, we put out to the universe and to society. And I have to say that people who are in positions, who position themselves into the place of also doing to help, we also have issues that we're pushing out into society. And one of those big issues that I have, that I would love to put up to the forefront of the discussion here, is we have a lot of men and women, but I say even more men, that do not support men's help in helping men. And we do not support men who are helping men adequately enough. Okay, there's a whole lot I can go on about that, but I'll just leave it as a question mark. If we're to pursue to move forward into the future, that issue must be addressed, because we weaken each other. We weaken each other. And I say it comes back to how you feel about your father is what you put out to other boys and men you don't even know. As a girl, as a man, what we put out. And we don't support adequately enough. We have big talks. I can't tell you how many wonderful years that I've been around that we brought up these subjects. I want to know what's the next step. We brought up these subjects. I want the next step. And I know a whole lot of people, as you have already expressed, who are trying to do something. But I'm not even gonna make myself innocent. I'm a part of that too. I don't support everything either. Okay? But it's a question that needs to be answered. How can we support? What can we do to move supporting others up? I think it was brought up in different ways here. But it's a question mark that we have. We can't have the same discussion next year. We have to elevate this. I'm saying this, we have to elevate this discussion. We're doing it every doggone year. There's something mentally unsound about that. I'm telling you. Something mentally unsound about every year coming up with the same discussion and not saying this, from that seat to this seat is where we jump. We don't have to say we jump from way over there, but at least we made this progress. We made this progress.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Any final thoughts from the panel? Oh, okay. My apologies.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So I have to say this, and context is always important, because I've always understood that the way that I understand, and our brother spoke about relationship, I really am bringing it back to that. And I always consider that I'm speaking from a place of privilege when I say these things. I learned what it is to be a man from the men around me. My father had a big family. It was mixed, step this and step that, but he made different choices. My mother was from a family where her father, who helped raise me when I was a child, he was the third of 17 in Tobago. His father was married twice, 9 children with the first wife, 8 with the second. But when he died, his youngest brother came to the funeral. Our brother likes stories. It's a Tobago thing. When I heard my great uncle speak, it was the first time I was meeting him, I could hear my grandfather. So they were raised in certain things. And I'm saying that it takes a village to raise a child. We say that all of the time. The relationships become really important. And the thing that I know that I learned from before, throughout, and it has taken me throughout everything that I've experienced, is that the first thing that you have to understand as a human being is respect. And you work from that. Respect and love. So when we're talking about these things, I think that there's a way in which we have to insert this notion that every human being has value. Our boys and our girls. Boys have to learn to respect themselves and then respect others, even when they're different and all the rest of that. We make, our brother spoke to it, the society inculcates some things. Generally, as a society, we really are very disrespectful, if we're honest with ourselves. And if we start trying to fix that, some of the things that need fixing will get fixed. I'm also saying that to say that there is a way in which we really have to deal with our boys before they turn 10 to 12. So that they come up with some things in them so that they can make different choices. Because girls develop faster than boys. And someone can do the research, because I don't know that there's any research on this thing that I'm about to say. The boys are interested in girls their age. The girls their age are interested in older boys. Well, guess what? The girls hurt the boys become hurt boys, who then hurt girls, if they don't understand how relationships and those things are supposed to work. And then it becomes a vicious cycle, which we then perpetuate. And I'm saying we have to help our boys, I wouldn't get into what that was for me because it was really dread, to be honest. Yeah, my mother and father sat me down, said some things to me. I mean, I'll give you the shortest version of it. At about 10 and a half, my mom said to me, don't bring home anything that you cannot mind. Not no dog, cat, chick, parrot, or child. Yeah. And we were supposed to have a talk about it. She said, this is the talk. You listen. This is the talk. I'm saying that to say we have to help our boys because we can't put the blame on any side. It is a developmental thing, and there's some things, it's patterns. Folks follow the patterns that they see and that they know. The last thing that I'll say, because I've taken up more time than I probably should, is that the communities themselves become part of how this gets expressed. So someone said to me in a particular place that is considered to be rough, that in the old days, you as a young man, you would go on the block and that kind of stuff, and the bargain or the person who was whatever, the deviant, let's use that word, that's the term that we use in sociological terms. The deviant would say, carry your hip home, you is so-and-so child, go home. Now, the age range is different, and the folks are being raised in some things that they think are right. That's the short version of it. So we have to deal with it for what it is and understand the ways in which the rebuilding, we didn't take 10 years to get here. It happened over maybe 3 generations. We're not going to fix it overnight, but for every one boy child that we help understand his value and the way that he should live, we will have helped one less person have to go through the system in the way that folks are going through the system now. And I'll stop. Because, well, part of my studies as a sociologist was gender studies, and these things are important. We don't always pay attention to it as a society, but there's a lot of work to be done.
So, to the panel, final thoughts. All right, so thoughts, guys, final thoughts, none?
Which means, you all heard what I said, right? So based on, like Dr. Bratt referred to, the MRIs of the brain that we've been doing more in the last 15 years or so. So neuroscientists have been mapping the adolescent brain, and what they have found is that children actually are not mature enough to be on their own at 10, 11, or after they pass common entrance or SE and go off to high school. It's 25 in females and 27 in males, all things being equal. And so what neuroscientists have been saying and encouraging parents and trusted adults is to be your child's prefrontal cortex, be their guiding light for much longer than we might have initially thought. Which means we need to love our children, the same love that we give to, and Dr. Brad did a good job of talking about that. That same love that we felt when our children were in our womb, or when we were a new dad, or when they were born and so on. We need to have that love throughout their lifespan, and it's the same thing for boys. Imagine the boy's adolescent brain develops later than the female. So that part of the brain that connects behavior to consequences, and that critical thinking, the rationalizing, the analyzing comes later. So we just need to do better, I think, as a community, parents, society, to give our boys more care, more respect, more encouragement and support, and to help them along life's journey and not just abandon them in high school or university, or even at 18, right? Remember, their adolescent brain is not fully developed till 27.
Thank you.
I would just say, be very deliberate about impacting your sphere of influence. So Dr. Moultrie was just talking about how can we progress, even if it's from one chair to the next. So whether it's our own children, whether it's our neighbors' children, be very deliberate about your sphere of influence, whether it's the young men in your church or wherever they are. The fellas playing football across the road, right? Be deliberate about attempting positive intervention consistently, right? Not we do it one Saturday, we feel good, we come to an event, we give out a hamper and we go on. Consistently, even if it's 2 boys. Yeah. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you all for your presence and your passion. I shall now leave you with Dr. Tilak Singh. I invite the panelists to become once a part of the audience again. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much, Mr. Villafana, and thank you very much, panelists. I just have 2 more certificates and a medal to give out. I want to call on Dr. Moultrie to come up for a certificate. Norris is up here already. And if Reverend Jacob could come to give out these certificates, please. And I want to call Richie to receive one of these medals too. For he's one of the ambassadors. Thank you. Right. I have 2 more awards, and one is for Sensei Vincent Nero, a very good friend. He has been inducted in the Karate Hall of Fame, Martial Arts Hall of Fame. He has, since 1973, has been involved in martial arts, helping a lot in tech work, and he has been, be a mentor for many young boys and a good friend of mine. I want Reverend Jacob to present him with this medal. Right, no problem. And I also want to call on my good friend Nigel Phillip, to get this medal too. Nigel has been doing a lot of good work for over the years, and he has really shown support, not just in Tobago, but also here in Trinidad. Right. I have 2 small presentations. Is Mr. Villafana still with us? Did he leave? All right. I want to present a bit for Villafana. Maybe, Rev, thanks very much. Maybe Richie could present Mr. Villafana with a little token, and Dr. Bratt. Right, Dr. Brad, I want to apologize for not wrapping that token. We were kind of trying to cut some costs here. I want to invite Dr. Robert Moultrie, one of the ambassadors for National Men's Day, to give the vote of thanks. And after that, the closing prayer will be done by Reverend Canon Richard Jacob. I want to thank his daughter for also accompanying him. And I also want to highlight some of my good friends from the University of the West Indies who have come out to support me, right? So thank you all very much.
Wow, thank you everyone. Hey, please bear with me. I've been on a panel before, but this is my first time giving a vote of thanks. So please, please bear with me. I am very, very moved and very, very, thankful to everyone that has participated in putting this together. With their very presence from traveling around the country. If you don't mind, I want to thank everyone. Let me try to do this as quickly as I can. I want to thank All Saints Church for allowing us this venue and organizing the venue, and all the members of the church who are part of this, and Reverend Canon Richard Jacob. Thank you so very much. I want to recognize perhaps our eldest member here. I'm not 100% sure, but Mr. Norris Blackman, who's been involved with International Men's Day from its inception almost, and has really done quite a remarkable job in helping and assisting and organizing throughout the decades of the day. By the way, I'm happy to say I've been involved since 1999 too, along with Dr. Jerome Tiluxe. I'm really grateful to Mr. Clunis Wallen, who did a wonderful presentation on many aspects. One of the things I like to bring out with my bad handwriting is that yes, I am a doctor, so I can't read my own handwriting. How it's so important to acknowledge that men have to allow themselves to be vulnerable. And to be open to both sides, to be strong, but at the same time we have our times of weakness. That's a big issue. So thank you for bringing that forward. I appreciate Mr. Norris Blackman and something that's very, very powerful recognition that our boys are not acknowledged of their good in the newspaper. I can guarantee you heard what I said, I can guarantee you that when the news speaks of what is good, that it will contribute to a decline in what is bad. We increase what we feed. Powerful, powerful. So appreciative of Dr. Bratt's, his statistics and analysis, and really focus point on the importance of giving value to boys and what is happening to a society and a world for a variety of input and reasons that is not giving value to boys and what's happening with them. Okay, he gave me some statistics I didn't even know about, birth deaths. So great and appreciative, Mr. Rishi Banraj, for so much that he's contributed. But one of the powerful things that he said is the power of listening to boys. Power of listening to boys. The power of listening to boys. I will tell you, I have done a lot of work on what is good health, and someone has done a study on one of the most powerful influences of transforming your health, and one of the most powerful influence is listening, having someone to listen to you. We are not a good listening society in many different regards. So thank you, Mr. Bansraj, for that. We'll be talking some more on that. Mr. Villafana, you did a wonderful job emceeing. Mr. James Samuel John, thank you so much for coming and sharing what it is that as a young man, you represent many of the youth of the nation, so we bow in thanks to you. Next time that we have this as a part of our sign of growth and development, we have to ask, this is for the boys. Where are the boys? What did we do? Go ahead. You want to clap about that because you want to acknowledge that. That's an issue, What did I do to invite more boys? I'm going to take responsibility for me. Okay, Mr. Marlon Bascom, thank you for reminding me that we have met before. You brought us so many wonderful points, so many strengthful points, giving you example as a father and some of the things that you see, really, really appreciate that. I want to thank Mr. Dingo Redhead, this gentleman here, who is putting this on social media so that those who are not here physically, that we can see. I want to thank Dr. Jerome Tilak Singh for infinite many things: consistency, persistency, being involved, taking the time out to build our self-esteem with these awards, because that's not insignificant, what is it? TTT, Mr. Errol Fabian, thank you so very much for coming, and so much that you're doing. Mr. Ray Bassett, thank you so very much. Your many different contributions. Mr. Vincent Nero, thank you so very much. Great memories of many great things. Anybody, the gentleman, I'm sorry, I did not get his name, from Tobago, sir. Nigel Phillip from Tobago. Okay, thank you so very much for your wonderful, great input, Mr. Nigel Phillip, and thank you for representing Tobago at the same time. And I want to acknowledge Mr. Donald Berment's family. I want to thank his daughter, Nikki Bermont Reed, for responding to and Mr. Tilak Singh's desire for her to come on behalf of her father and receive this appreciation, acknowledgement. I want to thank the husband for coming. A lot of times we have just one or the other, but they came as a husband and wife. And I want to thank, the husband's name is Mr. Josiah Lawrence. Let me get this right. The husband's name is Mr. Stephen Reed, I'm sorry. And the son's name is Mr. Josiah Lawrence, which is Donald's grandson. So this day is for you, World Day of the Boy Child. So thank you so very much. My apology. This gentleman here, sir, I'm sorry. What is your name? Justice Gapo. Well, I want to thank you as representative of the justice system. There's a lot of things here that my opinion about the justice system is that we all can evolve, and just putting somebody in jail is not solving. It's not solving. I can pat myself in the back that I did this, but things are multiplying. So I thank you for being open to listening, and maybe how we can all, one family, come together and contribute to various ideas to help every aspect of our society in terms of men's and boys. Thank you so very much. Sorry for taking this so long. And everybody else that came, thank you so very much. If I didn't, okay. Tell me the name, sir. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, Rebecca. No, it's not okay. No, it's not okay. I'm very apologetic. Thank you for your many in-depth contributions and your, I'm going to say, your interest in the very important psychosexual impact of what's happening in our culture on our men and boys. Okay, so thank you very much for everyone. All right. Sorry.
Thanks very much, Dr. Moultrie. I want to invite Reverend Jacob to say the closing prayer, and after, I guess you will be blessing refreshments too. We have refreshments. Of course, we have no alcoholic drinks. We're on a church compound. So I want you all to partake in refreshments at the back there of the room. So Reverend Jacob, thank you again for allowing us this.
Can we stand, please, though? So we bow our heads, we close our eyes, we focus our thoughts on God and on the things that we have experienced. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we continue to give you thanks for our boys and our boy children. We ask that you will help us to have such a sense of your purpose for them, that you will help us in this work that has begun. We ask, Lord, that you will guide us in the work that needs to be done with our men and our families, that you will give us such a sense of the work that needs to be done with our boys and girls so that they grow up knowing their value in your sight. We give you thanks for all those who have contributed to this afternoon's proceedings. And we ask that those things that we have discussed, that you will help us to use them as a seed that grows in positive ways to influence our society. And so we ask that as we bring this session to a close, that you will continue to give us such a sense of your calling on our lives, that we will seek those things that help us to be of service to our families and to our villages and our spaces, that your presence in us, your presence with us, will help us to become the best version of ourselves that we can. And so we ask, Lord, that you will bless the food that has been prepared, that you will bless our sharing of it after, and that you will continue to grant us your grace and your love. And we ask these mercies in no other name but the precious name of your Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. And the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us in this moment and forevermore. Amen. You may be seated.